Your body is made up of trillions of living cells, and every one of them needs food and oxygen to stay alive. Whether you are exercising, just sitting around, or even sleeping, the circulatory system is busy working to get fresh oxygen and food to all parts of the body. It is the job of the circulatory system to transport food and oxygen to the cells and then to collect waste products so that they can be eliminated from the body. This system operates non-stop from before birth to death. If deprived of oxygen for just a few minutes, a cell will begin to die. This system is crucial to survival. The circulatory system is made up of three main parts or components: the heart, the blood, and the vessels through which the blood flows. Let's begin our exploration by looking at the heart. The heart is about the size of an adult's fist and is located just to the left of the center of a human's chest. The heart is protected by the rib cage. More than 50% of the heart's weight is muscle. However, this is a special muscle called the cardiac muscle. It is made of muscle fiber that doesn't become tired or fatigued after prolonged use. Muscles in your arms and legs are different, and after strenuous use, they become fatigued. The heart can never become tired because it is constantly working night and day for your entire life. It beats at about 70 beats per minute during times of rest. During each of these beats, about 70 milliliters of blood are pumped out to the body. This graduated cylinder contains 70 milliliters of colored water to give you an idea of how much blood is pushed out of the heart with every beat. The rate of beating is controlled or regulated by an area of nerve tissue located in the upper right side of the heart. This area is called the pacemaker and sends out signals to the heart muscle, causing it to contract. If something happens to the pacemaker, an artificial or human-made pacemaker can be used, either inside the body or on the outside, to send the necessary signals for heart movement. The heart is made up of two pumps, one on the right side and one on the left side. A wall of thick tissue called the septum separates the heart into these two sides. There are two chambers found on each side, for a total of 4 chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called atria, and the 2 lower chambers are called ventricles. In the right atrium, blood is collected as it returns from its trip through the body. This blood has very little oxygen, but is carrying carbon dioxide, a waste product released from the body's living cells. The color of this blood is dark red. At the bottom of the right atrium is a one-way valve that opens to allow the blood into the lower chamber, called the right ventricle. The one-way valve will not permit the blood to flow backwards into the upper chamber. This is a muscular chamber that contracts with great force. It pushes the blood through the semilunar valve into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery divides into 2 paths leading to the 2 lungs. The blood, rich with the waste product carbon dioxide, moves into the capillaries, or smallest blood vessels of the lungs. Here there is a gas exchange, as the carbon dioxide passes from the blood into the lungs, where it will be exhaled from the body. The air breathed into the lungs has oxygen in it. The oxygen moves into the blood to be carried to the body's cells. The pulmonary veins bring the now oxygen-rich blood back to the heart. It enters the left atrium and then moves into the left ventricle. The blood is now a bright red because it is rich with oxygen. The left ventricle contracts, forcing the blood into the aorta, which is the largest artery in the body. The blood is now on its way throughout the body. The left ventricle actually works about 6 times harder than the right ventricle because it is responsible for giving the blood the push it needs to travel throughout the whole body. The right ventricle is merely sending the blood into the pulmonary arteries, which take it a short distance to the lungs. The lub-dub sound that is heard when listening to the heart is the sound of the different valves shutting as blood flows through them. The valves are designed only to allow blood to flow in one direction. The 4 stages of a heartbeat, as described above, take about a second to occur. The blood travels through the body in a continuous system of tubes called blood vessels. This system is so huge that if one person's blood vessels were stretched out straight, they would reach almost halfway to the moon. There are 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries are large blood vessels that carry the blood away from the heart. Arteries divide into smaller and smaller vessels until they are so small they can only be seen through a microscope. These vessels are called capillaries. There are so many of these vessels that most living cells of the body are close to capillaries. The capillaries rejoin to form veins, which are the blood vessels that return blood to the heart. In this diagram, the arteries are shown in red to represent oxygen-rich blood, and the veins are shown in blue to show oxygen-poor blood. The largest artery is called the aorta. It is about 1 inch in diameter and receives the push of blood from the left ventricle. There is quite a bit of pressure behind this push, so arteries are designed to be flexible. They expand and then move back to their original sizes and shapes, which provides even more push. Some of the blood is directed immediately back to the heart to provide it with nutrients and oxygen. The heart cells need to be continuously supplied with nourishment. Through coronary circulation, blood is supplied to the blood vessels of the heart. If the cells of the heart aren't supplied with oxygen or nutrients, a heart attack can result. Heart attacks are a leading cause of death in the United States. They can be caused by blood clots that block blood vessels, or buildup of cholesterol, fibrin, or other material in blood vessels can narrow the path or openings in the vessels. Remember that one of the critical jobs of the circulatory system is to transport oxygen and food to all living cells and then to collect waste products, such as carbon dioxide. The exchange of gases takes place in the capillaries. These vessels are so small that they are only 1 cell thick. This makes the transfer of materials possible. There are so many capillaries that every living cell in the body is within their reach. The capillaries are so thin that red blood cells have to squeeze through them 1 cell at a time. After blood cells have delivered nourishment and picked up waste, they move into larger vessels called veins. Veins return blood to the heart. They are structured similarly to arteries, with 3 layers of muscle and connective tissue. Veins must overcome the pull of gravity to get the blood back to the heart. The push from the heart that propels the blood through the arteries is no longer much of a factor. There are 2 things that help to move the blood through the veins. The larger veins have one-way valves that prevent the blood from flowing backwards. The veins are located between skeletal muscles, and when the muscles contract, they force the blood forward through the veins and towards the heart. If a person stands still for a while, the blood will collect in his or her feet and ankles. If this continues and the brain doesn't get enough blood, a person might faint. When people walk, jog, or run, the muscles in the legs contract and relax, which causes the veins to be squeezed and released. This causes the blood to move along the vein towards the heart. To move the blood through this network of vessels, a great deal of force and pressure is required. The force is provided by the heart and is at its highest when the ventricles contract, forcing blood out of the heart and into the arteries. Then there is a drop in pressure as the ventricles refill with blood for the next heartbeat. Doctors measure the blood pressure with a device called a sphygmomanometer. They always measure blood pressure in the upper arm artery. Blood pressure varies throughout the body, so a standard place must be used so that a person's blood pressure can be compared over time with other people. There are two pressure readings. One measures the strongest pressure during the time blood is forced out of the ventricles. The second reading is taken during the rest period, as the ventricles refill with blood. The first reading is called a systole, and the reading at refill is called a diastole. The numbers are written together, such as 120/80, which happens to be the blood pressure of a healthy young adult. Blood pressure will change according to the activity in which the person is engaged, such as resting, walking, and running. People who have high blood pressure readings during periods of rest are said to have hypertension. This can be harmful to delicate body organs, so people are advised to do things to correct the condition. This may involve losing weight and exercising more often to return the blood pressure to normal readings. The average adult body contains about 5 liters of blood. This liquid represents 5 liters. Blood is made up of 4 components: plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Plasma makes up more than half the volume of blood. It is a yellowish fluid that is 90% water. Floating in the plasma are nutrients, hormones, and minerals. Red blood cells are very small and very numerous. In an area the size of a pinhead, you would find 5 million red blood cells. The average human body has more than 25 trillion red blood cells at any given time. Red cells have an unusual shape. They are disc-like with a flattened interior. This design helps them to fold over when traveling through the small space of a capillary. They live for about 3 to 4 months and then die. Old red cells are broken up in the liver, spleen, and bone marrow, where some of their contents are reused to make new cells. New red blood cells are made in the marrow of some bones. New red cells are created at the rate of 2 million every second. These cells are very important because they carry the oxygen throughout the body. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, which attracts oxygen molecules. So oxygen attaches to the hemoglobin and is carried to living cells of the body, where the oxygen is released to the cells through the capillaries. White blood cells are larger than red cells and are the body's main defense against germs. Bacteria and viruses, which are commonly known as germs, can enter the body through cuts, the nose, throat, and intestines. Germs can cause infections. Blood will quickly carry white blood cells to an area of the body at which germs are invading. The white blood cells attack germs. There are different types of white blood cells. The lymphocytes create antibodies that attach to the germ and either break them apart or clump them so that other white cells can eat the germs. Some white blood cells live only a few hours, while others can live for years. They are made in bone marrow like red blood cells. White blood cells are an important part of our body's immune system. Platelets are smaller than red blood cells and help blood to clot when there is a cut. When we are injured with a cut, the platelets immediately help to begin a series of chemical reactions that stop the bleeding. There are chemicals called clotting factors found in the plasma. One forms fibrin, which is made up of long threads that form a net-like mesh that traps blood cells and platelets to seal the break. This eventually becomes a clot that seals the wound while the vessel is repaired. When the cut is on the skin, the clot becomes a scab because it hardens in air. This is the body's way of stopping the loss of blood when you're injured. If there is a severe cut, you must act quickly to avoid the loss of large amounts of blood. The best way to stop bleeding is to apply pressure directly to the wound. A clean cloth should be used to avoid infection. Sometimes people are confused about what to do with a nosebleed. The best thing to do is to pinch the nostrils together with the head held straight. There are things you can do to help maintain a healthy circulatory system. Watching your diet is an especially good thing to do. Eating foods low in fat can help you to avoid the clogging of arteries. It is a good idea to avoid becoming overweight. One of the best things to do is exercise. The heart is a muscle, and like all muscles in the body, exercise can be beneficial to it. You strengthen the heart with exercise. Swimming, jogging, and biking are all good ways to make your heart stronger. The circulatory system is a transport system that keeps every one of the trillions of living cells in your body alive and healthy. A vast network of blood vessels that reaches out to every part of your body, the circulatory system carries oxygen and food to the cells and collects carbon dioxide and other wastes for disposal. The system also defends the body against disease. There is far more to the circulatory system than the lub-dub sound of our hearts. Students may write the answers to the following questions on a separate piece of paper or on the duplicating master entitled Video Quiz. Question 1. What is the job of the circulatory system? Question 2. What are the three main parts of the circulatory system? Question 3. Name the four chambers of the heart. Question 4. What is the lub-dub sound we hear when listening to the heart? Question 5. Name the three types of blood vessels. Question 6. What two things help the blood in veins return to the heart? Question 7. What do the two numbers recorded while measuring blood pressure represent? For instance, a healthy young adult might have a blood pressure of 120/80. Question 8. How much blood is contained in an average adult? Question 9. What are the 4 components of blood? Question 10. What does the hemoglobin in red blood cells do to help the circulatory system?